Hello everyone, let's get started with this particular training session which is on HANA modeling overview. Okay, let me connect to the HANA system right now. Okay, so let me connect to the system. Okay, we are in the HANA studio right now, so let me connect to the HANA studio. Okay, this is an app that is used to connect to SAP HANA database. So we are in the modeler perspective. This is the modeler perspective through which we create the different models, we create the packages, we create the data provisioning, and we build the models, we do the deployment, we do the data preview. So these are the four different features which are available in HANA Modeler. Okay, so the moment we connect to HANA Studio, we get into a quick launch page. Okay, in this particular quick launch pad, you can see this is where the different features, the new features which are there, like how to create a package, how to create an attribute view, how to create a analytic view, how to create a calculation view. Okay, then how to create an analytic privilege, how to create the procedures. Okay, if you scroll down, you can see the setup, that is how we can do the different setups. That is, say for example, if you want to manage the preferences, how you can manage your preferences, how you can configure your import server, how you can define the delivery units, how you can create the schema mapping. So most of it is used in the data services. Okay, then here this is basically a data preview. Here you can generate time dependency data, you can do a data provisioning. So this is most of it is using SLT. Okay, at the top on the right side you can see you can activate, you can redeploy it, you can do a mass copy, do export, import, migrate, and auto documentation as well. Okay, so these are the different things which is available in the quick launch view, which will help to do the modeling in a easier way. Okay, so on the left side here you can see the different HANA systems which are connected. You can connect to multiple HANA systems if you want. Okay, depending on how many systems you have in your landscape, you can connect all your systems to the landscape and can manage it from here. So let me expand this particular HANA systems. Here you can see there are two different things. One is the catalog, another is the content. In the catalog you can see the different database objects. So these are the database objects which are there in the catalog. Okay, in the content you will find the different packages which is created. Okay, so in the catalog you will see the different authorization object like users, roles, you have public synonyms. Okay, then you have the different users which are created, then some of the key users like sys underscore bi, sys underscore bic, sys underscore wrapper, sys underscore statistics. So these are the different key schemas which is present here. Okay, schema is basically a entire different component where you can group all your database objects in one compartment. Okay, then in the content you have different packages created, and within the packages you have different type of views, like you have things like you have attribute view, you have analytic view, you have calculation view, you have analytic privilege. So these are the things which can be created within the package. Okay, so we just saw what are the different things available in the information perspective. So this view that we are seeing is the information perspective. Okay, so let's see the synchronization using SLT controller. So how you can use the SLT controller, what is basically an SLT controller. So let me click on the data provisioning tab here. Okay, on the data provisioning tab here you can see the source system which is sending the data to SAP HANA. Here you can see which schema, which system is connected to this particular HANA database. Okay, at the bottom you can see which are the schemas which is getting replicated. In the schema, which table is getting replicated, what is the status of this particular replication, when this replication started, and if you want to load a particular table, If you want to replicate a particular table, you want to suspend the replication, you can stop the replication, you can resume the replication from this interface. If you click on load, okay, on clicking the load, what you will see is you will see the list of the tables. Okay, these are the tables which are there in this particular schema. So you can select which tables you want to replicate. Say for example, the tables which are not getting replicated, you can just select them, click on add, and you can start the replication. Okay, in this case I have already replicated these tables, so I won't do that again. So basically this is the interface where you can define all these things. Okay, so let's get into the next thing is basically what else you can do using this particular tool is you can define a new replication. You can select the system over here, that is what is the source system you want to do. So here you can select your source system. You can see that this is the different source system where you are replicating the data. Okay, you can change your source system from here. This is basically a central tool from which you can manage your replication. Okay, there is a filter over here. You can select which table you want to see. Okay, say for example I want to see VBAC table. Okay, it shows the status of that particular table for the replication. So that's all in the this particular replication scenarios. Okay, now let's focus on building the models. So there are three different types of models which are available, that is attribute view. So let me go to the attribute view. Here you can see this is the attribute view that we have. Okay, in this particular attribute view there are different attribute views that we have created. Okay, so how to create an attribute view? What is an attribute view? Basically they are the master data models or the dimension tables in the legacy BW that you might have seen. So these are basically the master data views. Okay, so next is let's go to the analytic view. Analytic views are the fact tables and the dimension tables. So let me click on this particular analytic view. Okay, here you can see there are different columns which are connected. This is the data foundation view where you can see all the tables that is part of this particular analytic view, and in the logical view you can see how this data foundation is connected to the dimension tables. Okay, then in the next tab here is the calculation view where you can see how do you create a calculation view. What is a calculation view? Basically you can do your complex calculations defined over here. Okay, so that is on the calculation view. Then is on the analytic privilege. You can define the analytic privilege. Basically these are the privilege which controls access to the analytic views. Okay, so let's get into the details of creating an analytic. To start with, we'll get into the attribute view. So let me create an attribute view, or let me show you an attribute view. So let's close all this stuff that we have opened right now. Here you can see these are the two attribute views that I have created. So one is the material and another is G act underscore info. Okay, in this you can see there are two tables, and you can see this is table sk1 and this is skt. Okay, so here you can see there is a join created between the these two columns over here. Okay, and here it's a pretty simple attribute view where there is just two joins which is created and rest all are attribute view. You can have a calculated attributes, you can have an hierarchical attributes over here. Okay, so that's what is a sneak preview on attribute view. Okay, let's get into the analytic view. Let's select any one of the analytic views. Say let me select this sales demo as the analytic view. Okay, in the analytic view here you'll see two tabs. One is the data foundation tab where you have your fact table which is created. Okay, you have selected the fact table. These are the fields of the fact tables. Okay, and here you can see this is the primary key. Okay, here these are the attributes that is you are seeing in the output. Okay, here you can see VBELN, then you have NAM. Okay, then on the logical view you will see all the dimension tables which is attached to this table. Okay, so here you have, this is the logical view. Here you can have all the dimension tables as well. Okay, so let's see how it looks like. So these are the two views that is there. Here you can see data foundation view, the logical view in this particular attribute, analytic view. Then let's see here, this is another analytic view. This is your data foundation. Okay, then let's see this particular analytic view. Okay, here you can see this is the data foundation view. Okay, here these are the two tables which is there, and in the logical view what I wanted to show you is the different dimension tables. So here you can see these are the other dimension tables to which this particular fact table, the data foundation, is attached. Okay, you have the joins created. You can have different types of joins. You can have, say, inner joint or outer joint. Okay, say for example, if I double click on this particular join, it will show you what type of join it is. Okay, the features of the join. Okay, here you can see this is a left outer joint. Okay, and these are the left side and the right side attributes, and this is showing the progress or history of the this particular analytic view creation. Okay, so basically this is like your fact view and the dimension views. So that is all in the attribute view. Then for the complicated things you can create a calculation view. In the calculation view, say for example, if I want to create a new calculation view. Okay, so before that let me close all these different views that we had selected. Okay, I don't want to save anything at this moment. Okay, so let me close them. Okay, now let me create an analytic view. So before that let me show you this particular analytic view that is here. Okay, here you can see that on the left side of the canvas what you can see is, so on the left side you have the scenario which is created. On the right side you can see this is the canvas on which you can select what you want to see in your output, what are the calculation, what are the measures you want to add in your output window. And at the top you can see whether you want to create a union or join or projection or aggregate. So these are the things which can be used to create a scenario. Okay, now in this particular case I have used this attribute view g sales underscore demo. So g sales underscore demo, so using this I have selected this particular table, just drag this table over here, and here I am doing an aggregate. So let me see this. So this is the table that we have selected. Okay, and okay, this is the table. Then let's click on the aggregate. So we have done the aggregate on these values. Then the output, so in the output I want to see only these things, so I have just selected these things in the output and created a join. Okay, so this is what is there already. So let me select create a sample calculation view just to show you guys how the calculation view looks like. So basically this is a sample calculation view. Okay, so I've just selected the same name, and there are two different types of calculation view: graphical view or an SQL script view. Graphical views is basically for the simple calculation views, but you can select a SQL script as well. SQL script is basically you want to do some complex calculation views, you can go for the SQL scripting. Okay, then schema, I want to use this particular schema. So let me go to the next tab. Here you can see that you can select from the catalog, the objects can be selected. Basically you can select the tables from here. Okay, then you can select the packages, or you can select the different attribute or analytic views out of it, and you can just click on finish. Okay, so this is one way of creating it. So in this case, say for example, I don't want to select anything, I'll just click on finish. Okay, here you can see this is an output window. Okay, in this, here you can see union, join, projection, aggregate. So these are the different tools palette which is there. So you can create scenarios based on this. Okay, now what I want is I want to create, okay, here I don't want to create this projection at this moment. Okay, so let me cancel this. Okay, so I want to drag this particular attribute, this view I have dragged, that is sales underscore demo. And what I am going to do is I want to create a union, or say for example I want to create, let's create an aggregate. Okay, now I have selected an aggregate. Let me join this particular aggregate. Okay, so I have joined this aggregate. So let's see what are the fields we require from this aggregate, say as an aggregate column. So let me add these columns as the aggregate columns. Okay, so something, if I want to add it in the output column, I can add it there. Okay, then I can select, join this attribute to the output column. Okay, and in the output I am looking for only these things. Okay, so let's select this as an attribute, this as a measure, this as a attribute, and this as a measure. Okay, so that's how I have created this particular calculation view. Okay, so this is where you can calculate your calculation view. And let's go to the next topic, that is creation of analytic privilege. So I can save this particular view, I can validate the view, and then activate this particular view. Okay, so let's validate this particular calculation view. Okay, validation is successful. Let's activate this particular view. It's telling me to deploy it. Okay, so I have redeployed this. The information calculation view has been successfully deployed. Okay, now let's do a data preview. Okay, so let me go to this particular calculation view. Okay, and we will see the data preview there. So let me click on the data preview. Here you can see on the data preview tab, these are the different, this is the output of the query that we just did, that is calculation view. Okay, on the distinct values you can see that these are the different distinct values that is there. Okay, here you can see the simple charts being displayed there. And if you want to do an analysis, here you can see that you can do an analysis, say for example on the label side this, and on the value side you have this particular figures. Okay, so the analysis can be done as well. Okay, and this analysis you can see it in different formats, say for example in pie chart, in line chart, in this particular graph format, in other graph format, say in grid format, or in the HTML report format, in chart format. Okay, so different chart formats like line chart and other charts can be displayed as well. Okay, so that is on the calculation view that I wanted to talk about. Let's go to the analytic privilege. Okay, in the analytic privilege what we do is we define the controls, basically on the controls on the calculation view or the analytic view. Okay, so we define the controls there. Once the controls are defined, say for example here, let's say, let me try to show you the creation of an analytic privilege. Okay, let's create one analytic privilege. Say let's create a sample one. Okay, let me select next. Okay, sample, it's already exists, so let me name it as sample one. Okay, let's select next. Okay, here we can select the information models that we want. Okay, so I'm interested in putting the controls on this particular sales test table. So let me select this particular analytic privilege. Okay, so this is what I want to select, and if I want to put a filter on this, say I can select the filter on a particular field there. Okay, so the filter can be set on the field, and say for example if I want to add this particular thing so that I can query the filter on that particular thing, and if I want to put further restriction, that can be set as well, that is what is the value that I am interested in. Okay, so here we can say less than or equal to or in between or greater than. So any filter can be, these are the different filters that can be defined to put the restraint constraint on. Okay, so that is on the analytic view creation in this. Okay, so basically these are the things that I wanted to cover in this particular training video. Thanks everyone, thanks for joining, and have a nice day. Bye bye.